On this edition for Sunday, September 16th, the death toll rises as floodwaters from Florence force more evacuations. Typhoon Mangkhut hits mainland China. And in our signature segment, a short-lived victory in Iraq as ISIS militants resurface. Next on PBS NewsHour Weekend.
From the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center in New York, Hari Sreenivasan.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. The death toll is rising and more disastrous flooding is looming as Florence, now a tropical depression, continues to cross the Carolinas. Rain from the slow-moving storm continued, leaving homes and roads underwater. Not far from the coast, the town of Jacksonville, North Carolina, was submerged.
What's it like to see this in your town?
This is, it's been surreal, man. Never, like I said earlier, man, you only see this on TV. I've never thought I'd see this.
Sunday afternoon, the city of Wilmington was completely cut off by rising waters. Further inland in Lumberton, U.S. Coast Guard members helped search for stranded residents as thousands of others remained in shelters. New evacuation orders included part of the city of Fayetteville and anyone living within a mile of several rivers expected to crest at record-setting levels. The Department of Defense says more than 13,000 military personnel are assigned to the region in preparation for major flooding. At least 14 people were reported killed in the storm as of Sunday afternoon. The head of FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, Brock Long, said this morning that rescue and recovery in the Carolinas will be, quote, ugly, but we'll get through it. Long also denied a report that he is being asked to resign after allegations that he misused government vehicles commuting from Washington, D.C. to his home in North Carolina. Long said he is cooperating with an internal investigation.
We comply every day. We'll make meaningful changes. I would never intentionally violate any rules, that I was there aware of.
Typhoon Mangkhut made landfall in mainland China today after striking Hong Kong and the island of Macau. ITN reporter Ron K. Phillips has more on the deadly storm that's already killed dozens of people in the Philippines and is forcing hundreds of thousands to evacuate in China.
The world's most powerful storm this year, wreaking havoc on the seaside village of Sreenivasan on the southern coast of China, washing cars and boats into homes. Giant waves and storm surges lashed the coastline. Those brave enough to venture outside were no contest for the fierce winds, which reached speeds of more than 100 miles an hour. Windows were smashed and the high winds tore off parts of buildings and roofs. Nearly 500,000 people across southern China have already been evacuated, many rescued by emergency crews using inflatable dinghies wading through waist-high water. In the Philippines, where Typhoon Mangkhut first hit, the reality of the devastation caused is only now becoming clear. Dozens are known to have died, but the full impact on rural areas is not yet known. In the north of the country, a rescue operation is currently underway to free 40 gold miners trapped by a landslide. And for those who followed advice and watched the deadly typhoon pass from the safety of their homes, it was clear they'd made a wise decision. Ron K. Phillips, ITV News.
Read more about the call to free 2 Reuters journalists in prison in Myanmar on our website at pbs.org/newshour. This afternoon, Christine Blasey Ford, a research psychologist and professor at Palo Alto University, came forward as the author of a previously anonymous letter that alleges that Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh sexually assaulted her when they were high school students in suburban Maryland. In an exclusive interview with The Washington Post, Ford says that in the early 1980s, during a gathering of teenagers at a house in Montgomery County, Maryland, Kavanaugh pinned her to a bed on her back and groped her over her clothes. Ford says she was able to run away. Joining us now from Washington, D.C. is NewsHour correspondent Lisa Desjardins. Lisa, summarize the Post's reporting a little bit. What does she say happened?
Right. This woman now coming forward alleges that Kavanaugh and his friend, a man by the name of Mark Judge, is the one she's accusing here, corralled her into a back bedroom. That's where she says Kavanaugh attacked her. She says both of them were falling down drunk at the time. She said she did try to protest. She said no one outside the room heard her. She says she was able to get away when the other person she says was in the room, Mark Judge, fell on both of them, and there was a tumble, and she ran into a bathroom, locked herself into it. Now, Judge Brett Kavanaugh, has said unequivocally and categorically he denies this ever happened. His friend, Mark Judge, has said he has no memory of it. He says this allegation is nuts. And of course, the White House has responded by sending out letters from women who knew Kavanaugh in high school. Obviously, a lot of questions raised here, but this woman is now coming forward with some serious allegations.
So, Lisa, why did this woman come forward now?
She says she did not speak of it at all for decades, and that she only spoke specifically about this incident in 2012 when she was in couples therapy with her husband. Her husband has corroborated that to the Washington Post. He details a story that she told him in therapy that is exactly what she has told the Washington Post. He says that this came up at least twice in their couples therapy. She said she did not want to talk about it until that point that she realized it had affected her and was affecting her relationship. Why is she coming out now? The Washington Post says that she feels details of her story had been put out without her, and that some details were erroneous. She felt like it was going to be out there regardless, and that she had to come forward.
Finally, here we are on the eve of this nomination. There are already responses from senators on both sides of the aisle.
Right, I'm looking at my email now. Within 2 hours, we saw a lot of responses. Maybe the most important one is about the process. We now have the Democratic leader in the Senate, Chuck Schumer, is asking for a delay in the hearing. But the man who controls that timing, Chuck Grassley, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, put out a lengthy statement mostly questioning the timing of this. He said these are uncorroborated accusations from 35 years ago. Why didn't Democrats bring this into the daylight before? And then, of course, Senator Feinstein, who is the person that knew about these allegations in July, says she did not bring them out because the woman requested anonymity. What we don't know, Hari, is if this will lead to a delay in his vote, which is scheduled right now for Thursday. We don't know if this will actually mean another hearing. Will this woman testify before Congress? Will the FBI open an investigation, which it has said it was not going to do? A lot of questions tonight.
All right, Lisa Desjardins of the NewsHour. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
The terror group ISIS follows an extremist version of Sunni Islam, and though it has always drawn some support from within the Sunni community, many times Sunnis are also its victims. Now on the rise again in Iraq, ISIS has a portion of the Sunni population in its grip, creating an atmosphere of mistrust and suspicion, as NewsHour Weekend special correspondent Simona Foltine reports from Iraq. This is part of a two-part report. It was produced in cooperation with the Investigative Fund at the Nation Institute. A warning, some images in this report are disturbing.
ISIS is making a comeback in Iraq, and so far the government has failed to stop it. In my last report, I accompanied Iraqi security forces as they tried to clear remote mountainous areas where ISIS militants have regrouped. These cleanup operations were largely ineffective. The government troops, known as the Emergency Response Division, were used to fighting a conventional war against ISIS. They struggled to adapt to ISIS guerrilla tactics. Despite days of security forces searching, the militants remained elusive. But just because the government can't find them doesn't mean that ISIS isn't there. To find out just how much control the militants have managed to assert over civilians, I traveled to rural areas near the Sunni town of Hawija. Hawija was an ISIS stronghold for 3 years and was one of the last towns security forces freed in October 2017. Soon after, the government declared victory over ISIS in Iraq. Much of Hawija was destroyed in the fighting and is still abandoned, but people around here say ISIS was never defeated. Like many other civilians, this family spoke on condition of anonymity.
The liberation was superficial. Security forces passed quickly through the villages. When the army entered, ISIS fled towards the mountains and the riverbanks.
Now, less than a year after Hawija was retaken by the Iraqi government, ISIS has regrouped and is terrorizing the population.
They don't just come at night, even daytime. We are in danger of being kidnapped, killed, slaughtered, robbed. ISIS can do anything. We are under their control.
Near this village, ISIS kidnapped and killed several people, including community leaders who were known to oppose them. The group posted these pictures on social media showing the executions.
If someone tries to speak or do anything against ISIS, your whole family will be in danger. Whether it's during the day or night, they have no problem.
To protect themselves and their families, local tribesmen have organized their own defense groups. This family's 25-year-old son was one of them. His parents say he was killed in May while trying to repel an ISIS attack on his village. They are angry at the government and say it's not doing enough to protect the area.
Where's the security? If they are so close to the village, if ISIS can come to this place?
Like many others we meet, this family claims that the federal police, one of the government security forces operating in the area, often don't respond to calls for help, especially at night. They say the police only show up to conduct weapon searches of the families themselves.
When they find any weapon that hasn't been licensed, they confiscate it. But on the other hand, they say that villagers must protect themselves with their own weapons.
Civilians say encounters with ISIS have become a near daily occurrence in this area, but many are reluctant to speak openly about them for fear of being targeted by ISIS. As Sunnis, they also fear the Shia-dominated security forces, whom they blame for failing to secure the area. Just 4 days earlier, during late evening hours, this farmer says a group of 6 to 8 armed men detained him and 4 others while they were watering their crops.
They had surrounded me. I did not realize because I was bending down to the ground. Then I heard the sound of a gun cocking. I was surrounded. "Lift your hands," they said, so I lifted my hands. "Old man, respect yourself. Respect your age. Do not force us to mistreat you." So I didn't say anything. I was a prisoner.
The farmer suspects that the militants were ISIS. He says they asked if he or any of the other captives belonged to local security forces. Eventually, he and all but one of the detainees managed to escape after fellow villagers intervened. He says the government forces never showed up.
The security forces never came. It was only the villagers who helped us.
To contain any insurgency, cooperation from civilians is paramount, but mistrust runs deep here. While Sunni civilians accuse the Shia-led government of not doing enough to protect them, the government forces, in turn, accuse the civilians of supporting ISIS.
It's very difficult to gather intelligence. The reason is the nature of this area. People have close family relations with ISIS, so that's why it's not easy to get information from them.
The federal police say that many ISIS fighters managed to flee the battlefields last year. Commander Mohammed Flayeh al-Baydani takes us to what he says is a former ISIS hideout his forces raided in early July.
This is a shed where people normally keep their sheep. What raised suspicion was the existence of the air cooler and clean water. You know that in such a place you shouldn't see this kind of stuff. This made us skeptical, and we expected that there may be someone hiding there.
The commander says 4 alleged ISIS militants were killed during the raid. The police also accused the residents of this house, located just behind the hideout, of aiding ISIS.
They were arrested and transferred to the relevant authorities. Yes, because they were cooperating with ISIS.
The federal police don't allow us to get closer to the house or film it. From a distance, it appears that the house was burned down in a fire. Civilians and tribal leaders say that security forces systematically destroy houses of suspected ISIS families and collaborators. When ISIS ruled this area from 2014 to 2017, some civilians did support the terror group, while those who opposed its rule or the group's strict interpretation of the Quran were often executed in public. Trying to tell innocent civilians from ISIS supporters is no easy process, and one that has further divided Iraqi society. Muntaha Fuad's son and husband joined ISIS. They surrendered when Iraqi forces liberated the area and are currently imprisoned. Fuad herself and the rest of her family were accused of being ISIS collaborators by association and were transferred to this camp an hour east of Hawija. but she insists that she has nothing to do with ISIS.
What is our guilt? I know nothing about my son. I know nothing about my husband. My son made mistakes and paid the price for that. He went and handed himself into the authorities. What about us as women? It's not fair to be treated like this.
The Iraqi government forces families of ISIS suspects to stay in these closely guarded camps, claiming that a return to their villages would help ISIS to spread again. But camps or no camps for its alleged supporters, ISIS is re-establishing itself, and many civilians say that with no real protection from the government, they feel they have little choice but to comply with the terrorists' demands. We meet another farmer who says he has interacted with ISIS many times since their official defeat in 2017. First, he says, a militant whom he recognized as a neighbor began calling him on his phone. He says he reported the calls to an intelligence officer at the federal police, who instructed him to keep speaking to the militant and record the phone conversations to help the police gather intelligence. Then, he says, one day the militant and 6 other ISIS members showed up in the farmer's backyard.
We are in the place where we agreed.
Are you close?
Yes, can you come?
Are you behind the river?
Yes.
What should I bring with me? What do you need?
Bring us cold water and let's meet.
The farmer says he immediately called his contact at the federal police.
I knew that they were in my farm behind the river hiding, so I called the security forces, the intelligence. It was before sunrise. I told them ISIS are in my farm and they asked me for food.
He says the intelligence officer instructed him to cooperate with the militants until security could arrive. He gave the militants food and water, he says. But to his surprise, the federal police turned on him when they arrived, accusing him of being an ISIS supporter and jailing him for a week.
They hurt me. They beat me. They put me in prison.
Such incidents have led people in Hawija to believe that ISIS has infiltrated the security forces. The farmer now lives in fear of both.
I go back to my original home during the day, just to feed the sheep in order to take care of the farm. At night, I stay at another house, but I still feel afraid. I fear for my family. I put my family in danger because I cooperated with the Iraqi army.
Many civilians around Hawija have resigned themselves to once again living under ISIS. They no longer have faith in their own government or the United States to protect them.
We have lost confidence in the international coalition. Before the liberation of Hawija began, we dreamed that our areas would be liberated from ISIS. But when we returned from displacement and saw the situation with our own eyes, we were sure that they were not serious about liberation.
Mexico has become one of the most dangerous places in the world for journalists. Since last year, at least 9 have been murdered and more than a dozen are missing as drug cartels, organized crime, and government corruption pose dangerous threats for journalists who investigate and report on these issues. Emmanuel Guillen Lozano is a documentary photographer who fled Mexico and now lives in the United States. His work is part of a photo exhibition in New York highlighting attacks on the press in Mexico. NewsHour Weekend's Yvette Feliciano recently sat down with him to discuss his work and the dangers he escaped.
Emmanuel Guillen Lozano, thank you so much for joining us. Back in Mexico, you covered disappearances. You even shortly embedded with the infamous Sinaloa cartel. Do you remember the photographs that began to put your life at risk?
You know, I spent over a year getting threats from cartel members from different parts of Mexico, and I was kind of cool with it, just because you know that as long as you don't mess with them, as long as you don't go to their territories again, it's going to be fine for you in most of the cases. Maybe not always, but in most of them.
As long as you didn't go back.
Yeah, exactly. So at a certain point, after working in the case of the 43 students who disappeared in Guerrero in Ayotzinapa, Mexico, it started to get some attention outside Mexico. And I think that was the motivation of why the threats started to change the nature of them.
What's the public perception of the work that you do? Is it here the press has been called an enemy of the people? Is it just the cartels who want to harm you, or is the Mexican government resentful of the work
definitely.
you do?
I will say that the journalistic community in Mexico is more afraid of the government than the cartels themselves.
Why is that?
Because, you know, in most of the cases, the cartels and the government are deeply, deeply connected. And sometimes they are even like the same. There are members of the government that are involved in narco trafficking and that kind of things. Especially for the journalists who are like local, who work for like local newspapers of local media. For me, they are the ones who are more vulnerable because we, you know, people like me have the option to go to these places just for a few days or maybe for a couple of weeks, and then you can go back home and be safer. But those who live right in the place are in more vulnerable situations because they are targeted way easier than us.
Is the Mexican government doing anything to protect journalists like yourself?
They are pretending to. You know, there is a law to protect journalists, but it's the useless thing you could imagine. Literally, 99% of the cases are not being solved or even investigated because most of the times there is some part of the government in a certain level, from the municipal level to the federal level, who is involved somehow, almost in all of the cases.
Why do you and your colleagues continue to put your lives on the line for this work?
My country, it's been suffering such a long period of violence that we all want to tell this story about in order to, you know, maybe if we publish the right thing, if we take the right picture, if we say the right words, maybe something might happen at some point. Also for our own collective memory. And I think all of my colleagues have the intention to contribute to solve the problem by documenting it.
Emmanuel Guillen Lozano, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is PBS NewsHour Weekend, Sunday.
Residents in 3 towns north of Boston returned home for the first time today after a series of gas explosions killed one teenager and set dozens of homes on fire there. Investigators believe natural gas leaks from over-pressurized lines were the cause of the blasts in Andover, North Andover, and Lawrence last Thursday. Peaceful protesters gathered in the city of Yangon in Myanmar today to support 2 Reuters journalists sentenced to 7 years in jail. About 50 people chanted and held signs with names of the 2 men, Wa Lon and Ja So-yu, both convicted of breaking Myanmar's Official Secrets Act while reporting on a massacre of Rohingya Muslims. Major news organizations, human rights groups, and the United Nations have called for the journalists' release. In France, it was a car-free day on the streets of Paris. The 4th annual event is designed to reduce pollution and, according to organizers, make the city more peaceful and pleasant. Roads were closed to car traffic for just 7 hours today, but not everyone was pleased with the planning.
It's scandalous how it was organized. We can make policies, but this is a stupid policy, that's all. Honestly, what does this entail? Parisians cannot go home. Parisians cannot get out of their houses.
And there was a new world record set today in Germany. Olympic champion Eliud Kipchoge won the Berlin Marathon in 2 hours, 1 minute and 39 seconds, more than a minute faster than the previous world record. The 33-year-old Kenyan is considered to be the best marathon runner of the modern era. After crossing the finish line at the Brandenburg Gate, he thanked the spectators for helping him throughout the race.
I want to say actually thank you to all the spectators from the first kilometer to the last kilometer. They really pushed me. It was like having music in my ears.
We'll have more coverage of the catastrophic flooding in the Carolinas, the typhoon in China, and the allegations facing Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh on NewsHour this week. That's all for this edition of PBS NewsHour Weekend. I'm Sreenivasan. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.